you cannot come in. Anyone who's planning to come in, it is an illegal gathering, and we'll be doing everything we can to prevent that gathering. And if people do get to make it into the CBD for that gathering, we will be enforcing that. Anyone who makes it in there will be subject to a $5,500 fine. Those who are trying to get in there along the way, if we encounter them and prevent them getting in there, they'll be getting that $1,800 fine as well for being outside their premises by 5 kilometres. So just in regards to the demonstration, firstly, we saw on the 21st of August a large crowd of around 4,000 to 5,000 people. We saw violence, but the important thing was we saw a convergence of people who are placing others at risk of potentially contracting the coronavirus. With the new Delta strain, the risk is exacerbated significantly. We can't allow that to occur again. We have been in discussions with the Chief Health Officer, with the State Controller for Health, with the Department of Health and Government, and it's been determined that to prevent this actually occurring, to prevent this mass gathering and this potential super spreader event, we will be temporarily suspending the public transport network on Saturday morning. We'll be suspending that between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Now, we didn't take this decision lightly. It's one that we considered before the last protest. We didn't do it then because we're aware it will significantly inconvenience a range of people. But with the risk of similar numbers, there may be more, but with the risk of similar numbers that could come to this demonstration on Saturday, through discussions, it's been determined it was essential to temporarily suspend the network for that period of time. What that means is that any buses will bypass the city, any trams will be stopped before the city, return to their junctions, and trains will not come into the city during that period of time. There'll be a whole host of arrangements that will be put in place for that. When we have those transport systems stopping at some of the stations, the trains especially, we'll have our police officers there to make sure that those who are getting off those transport services should have been out and about, that they're entitled to be out for one of those reasons and that they're lawfully out and about and they're not coming into protest. It's our intention in the first instance to prevent this protest occurring as much as we possibly can, to prevent the spread of the virus. As I said, the risk is so great from a convergence of thousands of people, as we saw recently. To add to that, in addition to the lockdown of the transport network, we will also be, in effect, locking down the city for that period of time. We'll have hard barricades, we'll have traffic management points, we'll have roving patrols. We will be doing everything we can to prevent access to the city. For those who do get through, we will have significant police numbers in here to make sure that we are dealing with them, that we are holding them to account, and we will arrest those people and issue infringements where we can. As I said, that is a $5,500 fine for those who make it into the city. Hopefully no one comes in. We saw certainly in the last demonstration there were significant levels of violence. That is a concern to me as well here. We will make sure we are prepared to deal with that. But I just want people to think that through. Do you really want to be placing your child? Do you really want to place your family at risk in case a small group of people come in and if they're intent on violence like they were last time and place your family at risk? I would urge everyone not to come in, but this is certainly not a place for families, for children. This is not a place where anyone should be coming. Victoria Police consistently, and I've said this numerous times, Melbourne is pretty much the protest capital of the world. We have no problem with facilitating protest when there's a place and time for that to occur. This weekend is not the place and time for that to occur. It's really interesting that this whole cohort of people who are about freedom don't seem to respect the freedoms of others, and anyone coming in here places those freedoms at risk. We have engaged with a whole range of different protest groups across the journey over these last few months who we've worked with really well with their organisers, and they've postponed protests because they recognise the threat and the risk to the community. This group didn't last time on the 21st of August. They haven't done so again on this occasion. So I would simply say I would urge anybody who's considering coming into protest, in the first instance, do not come, we'll be doing everything we can to prevent you getting in here. And if you do get in here, we're doing everything we can to hold you to account and make sure that there are consequences in terms of enforcement outcomes. Having said that, there's probably a bit to be worked through, and it is still being worked through at this time with Public Transport Victoria. I realise there'll be many questions flow from this for people who would need to come into the city to work, essential workers with essential permits or emergency workers. We've got in place, and we are nearly finalised with a range of different arrangements so that we'll be able to facilitate access to some of those, well, to those workers who are required through a range of transport means such as buses. We will be checking the bona fides. We'll be checking the identity of those people who we do transport though. Again, it's an area that we'll really be focusing on, but we recognise there is a need to facilitate arrangements for a range of people. I'm happy to take questions now, but the reality is we didn't want to take this action. We realise people are suffering in businesses. We realise people are suffering with mental health issues because of these lockdowns. We realise that people are really fatigued and that this is a significant step for us. As I said, we did not take this lightly. We didn't do it last time, but given the circumstances of where we are with the spread of the Delta variant, with COVID the way it is, we can't afford to allow the transmission of a virus, and we will do everything Victoria Police can to support the Chief Health Officer in the directions that he has put in place, and these directions prohibit this gathering. So I'm happy to take any questions.